I have another quiz next time.
Maybe you should get some sports experts to answer your questions, Chris.
What's the time now? 6:38 is the time.
Do schools in England focus on getting ahead in the league tables rather than helping their pupils reach their full potential?
That's the suspicion voiced by many high-flying teachers in a new survey for the education charity Teach First. We can talk now to teacher Hannah Cheetham, who is a researcher on the report. And let's just check, you are head of geography.
That's correct,
in
yes.
a school yourself, so you know what you're talking about, hands-on wise. You're not
That's
just
right.
researching this from the outside. What are the findings?
Well, there's been a number of findings. I was particularly involved in the side of how the schools are working and the incentives that have been within schools. We really found that league tables were quite a negative effect within schools, and 79% of participants actually felt that the senior leadership in schools were prioritising the league tables over the students' own needs within the classroom.
So how can they come to it? Because parents, a lot of parents think they're useful, so how can they be a negative impact on the schools?
I think the focus is so much upon reaching the C grade and getting that magic 5A star to C grades that can actually be at the cost, often for the gifted students at the top of the end, and their only focus is getting the C grade. And it can also just warp the focus of the school, that they'll perhaps choose subjects that will make the students more likely to get the C grade rather than what's necessarily best for the student themselves.
And the reason the schools are focusing so much on getting those C grades is what?
It's a government target that you've got to be getting a set percentage of students achieving their 5A star to C, including maths and English.
And if they don't reach those targets?
There's strong consequences. There's things like the National Challenge programme that you can be put onto, and so there's a lot of pressure on you as a school to be achieving that.
But presumably you're not, I mean, there is benefit to those children in being pushed to get up to those grades too. I mean, you're not saying that's a bad thing.
I think there's certainly benefit in them achieving a C grade, especially if they're on the borderline. I think it's often the more gifted students at the top who are losing out. I think there's also been a case that sometimes vocational courses are put as a priority ahead of other courses. So one of the strong recommendations that we're making is actually to move to the report card system that the government are suggesting, but to rather than have this 5A star to C, actually have a more holistic approach of factors that are being considered.
People don't like phrases like holistic approach to education because they think it doesn't really mean anything. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? So the report card system would replace the league tables, is that right?
I think it's instead of having a league table, it's just providing parents and the public with more information. So they will still find out the 5A star to C result, but there will also be other things such as extracurricular opportunities, the value added in terms of how the students have progressed according to what they were expected to get and what they've actually achieved in their exams.
In many ways, it is quite worrying, isn't it? I mean, you're head of geography in a secondary school, aren't you?
That's correct.
I mean, it is quite worrying that people of your ilk, and many of them, are telling us that the system is just wrong and many people are being failed by it. I mean, have you got specific, can you see it in the pupils you teach, the ones who are let down in that way?
Well, I'm representing the voice of 500 participants who have been interviewed as part of this, who were all Teach First teachers, and it was really an overwhelming statistic that such a high percentage of those 500 teachers really felt that the school were not being just to the students. They weren't really getting what they deserved.
And do you feel a sense of a powerlessness about this? Because it's one thing coming up with this research body of work now, which represents many teachers, and then what?
I think that's the thing, that Policy First, this document's really trying to spark a debate and to contribute to the debate that's already taking place, to be able to have the opinions of teachers who are in the classroom and have been in the classroom, to really have their views heard and their experiences shared. That obviously there's many good teachers and the practices in the classroom can really be taken up to a whole school level and a government level as well.
Okay, Hannah, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 6